How are we living, jerk-offs? It's a sunny day in London. First day of summer. I'm calling it Saturday, June 22nd. The first time this city has resembled a summer's day. And I know because English people are exposing their very orange skin to natural sunlight for the first time in living memory. So that's exciting. Sorry this one is a little bit late. I've been flinging myself across the goddamn UK doing previews for my 2019 Edinburgh Fringe show. It is called Pimpin' Ain't Easy, but I reckon it's easier for straight white men every day at the Counting House Lounge, 4 p.m. It's part of the free Fringe, so it is pay what you want. You don't need to book tickets. In fact, you can't book tickets, but just chuck it in your little planner there if you're a jerk off and you want to catch me live with my brand new show. Now, I have a very good tale for you about me copping some abuse online from the band BTS. Not from the band. I don't want to be unfair to the lovely people of BTS, but from their fans. They're called the BTS Army. They're all around the world, and I've somehow been dragged into a war between them and my good mate Alex Williamson, also known as Shooter, also known as the Loose Aussie Bloke. I will definitely get into that chat for next week's episode, but I want to dive straight into this one. We're getting back to a little bit of a Brexit edition of the Union Jack-Off. I have a French comedian for you. His name is Eric Lampaert. Eric Lampaert has spent the majority of his career performing in English and in the UK, as you'll be able to tell from his accent, but he's a French man. He's recently returned from Los Angeles, the LA, where he's been doing movies and other kind of Hollywood shit like that. And I'm really curious to talk to him about his experience out there, just because I was out there myself, and especially his experience returning to the UK, basically after, well, not after the Brexit vote happened, but more like after Brexit has kind of been this thing that's been an issue for so long, because he wasn't actually living here for the majority of the time after the vote. He was just here for the vote, then he left for LA, and then he's come back just when, you know, it's bloody chaos in the Tory party. And I'm curious about his perception of Brexit, how he's felt that he's being treated differently, if he has, in the UK. I mean, you wouldn't know it to talk to him. This accent, proper British, proper Sussex. You'll feel that. I think Sussex. I could be wrong. But anyway, I want to dive straight in this episode because this bloke is incredibly interesting. We actually met last year at Winter Wonderland. I don't know if I mentioned I was doing Winter Wonderland on the podcast, but basically over the Christmas month, me and a bunch of other comedians performed in a gigantic circus tent at the Winter Wonderland theme park in Hyde Park. It's like a pop-up theme park. Thousands and thousands of people go there every day. It's this family-friendly kind of vibe generally. But they had this comedy show in a massive circus tent. And, you know, it was interesting. I definitely didn't have a bad time there, but it wasn't the usual space where I do comedy. It felt more like it was like Greatest Showman time. Like, this is the greatest show. Like, that was the vibe. But when I did it with Eric, he was the first comedian to walk in, check out the space, and look at it and say, perfect. Because he's the kind of dude who is not intimidated for 1 second by a giant circus tent. Anyway, I'm excited to chat to him. Super interesting dude. Has spent time growing up in France, then his teenage years and early adulthood in the UK, and then recently just spent 3 years in LA trying to make it as an actor and comedian. Excited to have him on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, jerk-offs, first-time jerk-offs. Check it out. The very funny, very interesting, very lovely Eric Lampaert. I love when someone comes in here hot, you know?
Well, it's like I'm a professional. It's like this is my job.
Okay.
It is.
Right.
It is interesting that I've got to the point now where I don't feel like a fraud.
That's good.
You know, so don't get me wrong. There's still plenty of work for me to grow as a comedian, as a performer and stuff.
Yeah.
But now I get on stage and I'm like, no, I'm good. This is good.
Yeah, I think I'm flirting with that feeling.
Right.
Like I'm close. Just that
Right.
kind of thing where like every now and again I'll still like, I think it's mainly like a new material night.
Right.
And there's like people who are newer, like, you know, they're like, they're very much not making a living.
Right.
And they're just killing it. And you're going on at the end and you're like, they're going to find out I'm a fraud. Like, this is where everyone knows. Like, you know, they've destroyed it. And then I come on as like the professional guy and I'm just average. And they're like...
I know you mean about that little fear. I actually really like it when an open mic kills it. Because in my head, I'm like, okay, game on. Put your game face on.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, you know, when I was an open mic, I'd be working on the same 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hope that it'd be good. Because that's the same 5 minutes I'm doing every show.
Yeah,
well, now,
yeah.
like, every gig I do, kind of unique, you know?
Yeah, well,
I mess around a little bit, you know?
I think that's quite unique to you, though. You're a free spirit up there.
I am quite free-spirited up there.
You're not like, let me change that adjective. I reckon I need one less word in this sentence. Let's give it 500 tries.
Right, no, I agree with you that I am definitely more of someone in the moment. So I guess my skill would be a joke writer. I still would like to improve my joke writing abilities. You know, like when people say, "Oh, you're a comedian? Tell me a joke," and I'm like, "Well, okay, if I tell you a joke, I've got to start with that story."
Yeah,
so I'm more of a storyteller. That's what I would define myself as, is actually a storyteller rather than a comedian.
Instead of like a stand-up. I think like comedian's kind of a broad term, whereas I think a stand-up is like a, you know, kind of jokes on stage, leather jacket, brick wall.
Right. Well, I guess for me, comedian would still be there, but a comedian can take you on a journey. But it's harder to take someone on a journey, let's say, at a comedy club, because people are expecting jokes. But let's say if you're doing your hour, like I'm working on my hour show for the Edinburgh Fest.
Yeah.
Half of it's theatre.
Sure.
Like I'm going to take you on a wild ride.
Yeah, I mean, I find that impressive because my brain just can't operate that way because I'm not theatrical.
But we all have different journeys, right? Like it's only recently, it's only last year when it's when I stopped feeling like a fraud as a comedian. Because I've been doing it now since 2008, so 11 years.
Yeah, good stretch. Right? The decade's the qualification, isn't it?
Yeah, so now I'm like, okay, no, I feel good on stage. And my agent was like, you know what, Eric, you're ready for the Royal Shakespeare Company. And I'd say 10 years ago, that would have freaked me out. And I put some thought into it, and I was like, yeah, actually. Yeah. Like, I've had 10 years worth of stage time. Right. And yes, it's been directed as a comedy thing, but if I can also access, you know, human emotion... Because comedians aren't just funny all the time. No. Right? That's exhausting.
I mean, I am, but that's because I'm damaged.
Yeah, you're desperate for the attention.
I need it. No. I just need to not talk about myself. So I just deflect it via, you know, jokes.
Yeah.
Isn't that how we all were raised? No? Okay. Just me.
Do you use comedy as a coping mechanism?
Absolutely. What? Of course. Yeah. On the way to my grandmother's funeral, my dad was just making jokes the whole time.
Yeah, I think.
And I'm like, oh, this is what we use this for.
But that's healthy, though, isn't it?
I mean, I think so, but I'm sure other people would be like, no, because you're not feeling the emotion and you're pushing it down, and that's why you die younger. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, I don't know I think maybe there's a delicate balance, right? Like, for example, my great grandma's still alive. She's 101 years old.
Wow.
I went to see her a couple of weeks ago. Because, you know, living in LA and she lives in like a tiny town in France away from Paris, it's always kind of a challenge to get to her kind of thing. Yeah. So I finally had some time to go see her, and I actually said goodbye to her when she was 98 because I was like, oh, she's going to die soon. So she's still around, right? She's still around.
Did she bring it up just constantly? Like, remember that time you said goodbye? And like,
Well, when she was 98, she actually is the one that brought her up. Because she was like, oh, you're moving to Los Angeles, so I might not see you again, but, you know, I'll see you up there. She believes in the big one.
The big one, right? Sure.
And which I quite liked. I was like, all right, I'll see you up there. It was a very nice way of saying bye. Yeah. Because essentially it was like, bye for this dimension, I'll catch you later.
Yeah, see you in a bit.
Yeah, so that was quite just chill. I was like, oh, that's good.
That's very calm approach to death.
Yeah. So she's still around, but this time, you know, she's 101 and she's being challenged physically.
Right.
I think after 101 years old of life.
Yeah. She got the hunch thing.
She was just in bed. She was
just in bed.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Right,
so the first day she couldn't even communicate and see me. She didn't even open her eyes.
Sure.
And then the second day, I was going back to the UK, and I sort of hovered over her. And because I've got long hair and a beard, look a little bit like Jesus. I was hoping that she would open her eyes and see Jesus and be like, "Oh, finally!" Because I don't want her to die, but she's told me already that she'd like to go.
Right.
She's not going to commit suicide.
Sure.
But she is ready to leave.
Yeah,
and
she's
I
made
get
her peace with it.
Yeah, oh, totally. Like she's a woman full of love. She's an amazing great grandma. But like I was like, I'd love to offer her some peace, which is quite a creepy way of like just. I want to kill my great grandma just by looking like I'm her savior.
I want to be her Jesus.
Yeah. I want to be your Jesus.
Oh man. Okay. And then did she?
Nah, she's still around.
No, but she like noticed you when you were hovering. Or
yeah. She heard me and she was like, "Oh, you're going back to the UK? Okay."
Yeah.
And so she's in there, and I think what's nice is because she was always quite mentally sound,
right,
in terms of a very healthy attitude. That even though physically she was just this melting grandma on a mattress, I was thinking that in her consciousness, like wherever she is in her mind, it's probably a nice sort of dreamscape. Because if you think about it, if you're just laying there in bed, your thoughts are either active, so you're consciously aware of something, or you're like in a dreamscape.
Sure.
And if she's got a healthy mind, then she's probably just in there, in her brain, creating a whole universe of just joy and happiness.
That is an incredibly optimistic.
Does that make sense? Like I know that if I was depressed when I was depressed and had anxiety, like just laying in bed with my own thoughts was a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
Right?
Whereas she's got a healthy brain, so she's probably...
Healthy brain. So essentially she's probably reliving memories and joyful moments that almost feel real. Potentially like a sort of lucid dream.
Maybe like, because people in comas and stuff, there's a bit of that, isn't there? Like
for sure. Your brain doesn't actually stop.
Yeah, it just kind of keeps flicking around.
Yeah. Your physical body gets tired, but actually your brain still goes on because that's what dreams are. Your brain's still active. It's just on sort of sleep mode.
Have you ever had any coma friends or been in a coma? I've never been comed.
I've never been comed, but 2 months ago I woke up with, I don't know what it could be. Someone explained it as ego death.
Death.
Yeah, I woke up and didn't have any recollection of who I was. And this is without drugs. So it's not like I took drugs and then something happened to me.
Right.
Without drugs, I reached a point where I woke up, didn't know my name, didn't recognize my apartment, didn't know anything about me.
Wow.
And so it felt very much like a sort of fresh, clean slate. And I was taken to hospital, and I had to restart everything. Like when I took out my ID at the hospital, that's when I learned my name. I was
weird.
Like, yeah. It was really interesting. It was an interesting
and that was
experience.
recently?
Yeah, it was the 17th of March, 2019.
Wow.
I know it as if it's like a rebirth, because everything has changed since that day.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's been like a positive...
Totally positive. Because I must have reached like a sort of tipping point. So when I speak of depression and anxiety, I had it for like good 12 years.
Sure.
I don't have it anymore. And I can't quite explain it.
Just woke up one day.
I just woke up one day. But it's not like I woke up one day as Eric. It was a brand new... And I say I can't quite explain it. I can. Something mad happened to me. Like proper mad. But I'm not going to bore you with the details right now.
No, please. Well, look, I mean...
But that I'm going to plug it. But that is what my Edinburgh show's about. So if you want to come and find out how I went to an asylum...
yeah.
Almost an asylum. It was actually just a nice mental health hospital.
A nice mental health hospital. Asylum does sound more negative.
Yeah, but which I find odd, because I used the word asylum a couple of times, and then my friend Paul Sweeney was like, you probably need to stop saying the word asylum, because people associate that with like those very crazy scary places when it wasn't one.
Batman, Arcane Asylum.
Yeah, he even said that.
Yeah,
he was like, but if you think about the word asylum, it's actually a nice, safe space.
Absolutely, that's what refugees
yeah,
get
yeah,
to
it's
seek,
where, yeah.
asylum.
So that's the way I was using the word asylum. Was this? There's actually this safe place where. Don't get me wrong. When I was there, I felt very much like I was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Okay.
And there was moments where I was just like roaming the halls, like when you see video footage of like these patients just roaming the halls, they look kind of crazy with their like robes and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But actually, it's because there's nothing to do. So you just actually spend your time just wandering the halls, exploring your own thoughts, kind of thing.
That's interesting.
And so it was really interesting that from an outside perspective, I was looking at myself going, oh yeah, I totally look crazy. But actually, it was just because that's the space that you're in.
Yeah, you're not allowed stimulus. That's part of the thing. They try to pare it back.
Exactly. You sort of you start from the very beginning. I didn't have my phone, didn't have anything, didn't have my own clothes. Yeah. So it was very much a fresh start.
That's interesting. A fresh start. Well, yeah, because I visited.
Would you like a fresh start?
Absolutely.
What would be the things that you'd like to work on? Oh, that you'd like to sort of...
Don't flip this on me. Come on, this is the...
Come on, getting to know you. Getting to know... Come on.
No,
I'd love to know more about your insecurities and shames and secrets.
Honestly, like this... The one thing that I will admit, this is... I love how difficult this is for me. Like, I'm genuinely sweating. Just you've asked me about myself, and I'm like, how that would be the thing that I think I'd like to reset.
What's that?
Just that... Kind of like, I think I associate it with masculinity, but it doesn't need to be masculine.
What, the inability to sort of share and open up?
Yeah. Like, I can talk about myself, but I can't talk about, like, how I feel, like, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like...
Where do you think that comes from?
I think that's just, good repressed Australian middle-class upbringing.
Right.
Not a big feelings family.
Right.
Definitely not that, and I think it's very hard to break out of.
So yeah, I of course I imagine. So are emotions sort of seen as a weakness?
I wouldn't say a weakness, but they're just like not to be spoken of. Kind of like politics and money.
Oh wow, so interesting.
Just keep it out of the,
So therefore, you're actually holding on to stuff.
Oh,
right?
Definitely.
How is that healthy?
It's not,
and I say that like I'm questioning you just for fun. I'm making it sound like, hey, my whole life has been. I very recently sort of let go of the past. I was holding on to stuff, and what I found really interesting was, and I say holding on to it like I wanted to. It's not like I wanted to. It was just buried deep in my psyche, and I did hypnotherapy. And sort of came face to face with some moments that happened 15 years ago.
Right.
And those moments were anchored, if you like, to my present day behavior. So, for example, you going, oh, I'm sweating, talking about myself. That's not necessarily the you of today. It's actually probably a thing that happened to you years ago, right? That maybe just growing up with your family where they don't speak about stuff. Then you... In a way, you're still anchored to that past, even though presently you live in the UK. Your parents aren't around here; they're not in the apartment.
I'd agree with that. I definitely because I think it's difficult. It's like when you see old friends.
Yeah,
that when you see people who knew you in the past, you immediately become who you were.
Yeah.
Everyone
but that's
just
quite nice,
resumes roles.
But isn't that nice?
I mean, not really, because It's kind of like they did a remake of the movie with the same actors. So it's like everyone's doing the same thing. They just look older.
Right. Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just kind of like, no, I want a sequel. I want I want things to have changed.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I actually really like your version better than mine. Because I guess for me, when I visit some of my friends from the hometown I grew up in, I actually would like to revisit those moments, like a sort of nostalgic moment, because I'm so far away from it, that the idea of just having one day together where we just get to be silly again.
I mean, I don't think that stops you from being silly and nostalgic. I just mean in terms of everyone kind of resumes where they were, and it just kind of feels quite rigid.
Oh, okay.
But the silliness kind of comes later, the silliness is just hey, remember how we all used to, and everyone's I remember we used to do that, and then you kind of slip into it. as opposed to starting
much
there.
nicer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the reason I'm challenged by it is one of my really good friends became a police officer, and through that he's experienced just death, rape, pedophiles, like just and so over 10 years of him being a police officer,
right.
I've seen him take on all of that weight of seeing the sort of horrors of life, that when I go to his to just play video games, it's just harder because understandably, like I love him, and you know, I'm thankful that it's people like him sort of exist to take on that job. But yeah, when I visit him, I just want to play some video games and fuck about. And you can see that his face is just holding on to like...
Right, you just feel the
pictures.
weight.
Yeah. Pictures and blood and guts. And I'm like, let's revisit when we were 15.
Yeah, it's like there's something about like a police officer, like even if they're retired, even if they're not in uniform, like there's just like a type of eye. You know what I mean? Like you just kind of can see it in how they look at everything. You're like, because you've had to withdraw a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. Imagine
actually,
if I was like a victim of some sort of abuse, and police officers come and like help me, and they see my situation and then they started crying, I wouldn't have trust in those cops, right? But they need to cry at some point. They need to go off and then maybe have a little cry. But yeah, if a doctor told me that I had cancer and then started crying with me, I'd be like, oh shit, I'm going to die.
It's like, dude, you're supposed to be a professional.
So,
why are you doing this to me?
So it must be challenging for those people that have to have their face on. Actually, we can relate to it as comedians. People just expect us to always be funny. Do you find that?
I mean, I find it weird that people kind of project more onto us, like they always need to be funny around us. I think that's more...
Oh, that's true.
More prevalent than like them expecting me to be funny. They're just kind of like they're kind of trying to throw jokes at you all the time. Or like trying to be like edgy.
That's true. Like, I see that. Yeah.
Dude, I don't care. I don't care what you think. I care what I think. Why do you think I do this job? Like, I don't need you to come in here. This is ridiculous. But wait, sorry, just before we get into I don't think I've ever gone this long into like a conversation without, I'm here with Eric Lampaert.
Oh yeah, shit, we just went straight
Well, you went heavy and I was like, well, I'm not going to stop it. I'm not going to pull us out of here, you know? I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to let conversations occur.
If I'm honest, I forgot that we were on a podcast. I was just having a nice conversation with you, mate.
Well, it was a nice conversation. I was just there being like, my God, I need to fix myself. You're not supposed to get that at the start of the conversation. Like, just feeling it deep in my soul. But I was just going to say Lampaert. I appreciate that it is spelt Lampaert. I got to say,
so
like with a T.
So I say Lampaert, and the reason I don't say the final T is generally in France you don't say the last letter, and so because I'm born in France, I'll say it that way. But like in Belgium, which is where my hometown, the town. Nearby my hometown was in Belgium. That's the closest town. So that's how far north it is. So in Belgium, they'll say Lampaert. They'll say the T.
Right. They'll put the T in there.
Yeah, so I think there's different ways of saying it. But I say Lampaert. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I really appreciate you doing on all your online stuff. You separate into two words that a dumb English speaker like me can say.
Oh, it helps.
Lampaert.
Like a lamb and a pear, yeah.
Done.
I think if I ever do like a production company or a movie production company, it would be like a lamb with like a pear's face. So I don't know
with a pear's face. What's the face of a pear?
But you know, like Columbia has like Lady Liberty holding that light.
Oh yeah.
Universal's that the Earth spinning and stuff. My personal one, like Louis C.K.'s Pig Newton or something, which is just a pig with like sort of a judge's wig. Although I don't know how well his production company's doing now, but
look, you got to assume maybe some low budget stuff.
Yeah, low budget stuff, casting couch stuff.
Oh boy!
But
Louis C.K.
But Lampaert, I think I would see like it's like a cute lamb running like in a field, but it's got like a really weird head of a pear.
Have you thought about like pears for feet? It's got like 4 little feet.
Oh, so it's like stumbling around
like,
into a slaughterhouse.
I've got all these pears.
Yeah, okay.
I can't run.
Yeah, I guess I don't know where the pear will be yet, but
well, I'm glad that you're thinking about it though. These are the important questions.
I'm dreaming big, mate. I'm going to be in big big Hollywood star,
Big
kid.
Hollywood star.
I'm being my own agent, and I'm like, hey, buddy, I trust you.
I mean, I like that every time you put on the French thing, you do the cigarette holes.
I love holding a fake cigarette.
Do you do a real cigarette?
I don't smoke real cigarettes.
Don't smoke real cigarettes. Yeah, I used to smoke real cigarettes, and God, I miss it.
Oh,
It was beautiful.
Yeah?
The ability to leave any conversation.
I've smoked cigarettes before, but I've never understood what it does. So I've never actually felt its presence in my body. If that makes
It
sense.
just kind of pumps you up a little bit, like gets you kind of
Little
it's
kick?
weird. It's an up and down. It like kind of it relaxes you while energizing you.
Oh well, I
You know?
smoke sativa joints. So
Ah,
I'm straight up weed rolling, no tobacco in it, so it's classic.
green,
Classic greens.
no spin. That's what we call tobacco in weed
Oh,
in
right.
Australia.
Is that right?
Spin.
Oh yes, none of that
Do
spin.
you have any spin?
No
spin.
No spins.
Like an honest paper, no spin.
Yeah, I'm as honest as I can be. I'm Charlie Hebdo.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
That's
We've
a
gone
good
straight.
French reference. There we go. Finally, some verification of your Frenchness. Everyone's listening, being like, "Doesn't fucking sound French."
Yeah, I don't sound it because it's not very popular to sound foreign in this country.
I mean, at the moment, I don't know if you've heard.
Oh well, I saw it coming when I was like 15.
Really?
Yeah. Oh mate, I got bullied so much every day just because I was French. I used to speak, like you said, a very strong accent, and
Right.
And I don't blame the kids that bullied me. But I'm guessing that they got their information from their parents, right? And, you know, if back then I could be like, oh, one day they're going to get to vote.
Yeah, you were
One day
like,
those kids are going to get to vote. Like, they're not going to just like my company.
I think I know how this will go. Was this in London or was this somewhere
No,
somewhere else?
it was Newmarket, Suffolk.
Newmarket.
But, you know, that's where I moved to when I was 12. And it's not just a UK problem, if you like. Well, whenever I moved to a different country, I lived 7 countries before the age of 12. So
Right.
whenever I moved around, I was always the other one,
Like
the new kid.
Army, circus, what?
Jockey. So
Jockey.
circus.
Oh,
Like a
close.
circus would be the right.
I was close. There we go.
Yeah, my dad's a jockey, so
Your dad's a jockey, but you're
Yeah.
a fucking
tall. I get
monster.
it.
Yeah, wow.
That's literally that's comedy 101 for me. That's where I started.
right.
Making jokes about my dad being a
Well,
jockey.
I'm glad I was right there. My
Yeah.
writing has not improved.
No, but
Same level as you when you started. Like, damn it. Damn
no,
it.
but don't get me wrong. That bit of material is in this year's show,
Well, they-
just because it's very much part of my identity.
Right. So
Because,
you
and
got-
also, here's the weird thing. It's only recently that I understood my dad was a sportsman. I saw him as like an actor.
an actor.
Yeah, because you know, like a model, right? He wears his little costumes,
Sure.
right? And he gets on his prop, a horse, and then he parades in front of audiences. And I was like, oh, that's just theatre. And then when you start thinking about like football and tennis and stuff, that's just an audience watching a conflict happen. It's just theatre, right?
I mean, this is spoken like someone involved in the theatre. Everyone else,
I do believe that sport are just a type of theatre.
everyone who likes sport would just be like, it's just sport without a ball and a score. It sucks.
But
I
there's
don't
still
like
a
this
story,
theatre.
right? And it's like, oh, so who told the story when they got the ball in the goal? Like, oh, well, it was Thierry Henry.
You're going,
That's
you're
my
going
reference.
deep down and acting on Thierry Henry. Yeah, nice. There you go. Keep it current.
You know?
Big sports fan. Big sports fan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Actually, yeah. So you came when you were 12, but
when I
seven
was 12, yeah.
7 countries before you were 12. So you were just around.
I was around. I moved around a lot.
What? Give me your top 3 of the 7 countries. What
Oh,
were
South Africa was hands down one of my favorite places as a kid.
South Africa. What?
Yeah.
What time was this in South Africa? What kind of years we talking?
I think 10, 11.
But
So,
like-
so one thing is
That was
I
like-
don't remember
Wouldn't that
my
have been
memory.
like apartheidy? Like around that time would have been breaking down, or
So
would have just broken down?
As a kid, I think just broken down. But as a
Uh-huh.
kid, I didn't fully know what was going on.
Oh,
Right?
of course not.
So apartheid wasn't really part of my zeitgeist, especially
Yeah.
because I didn't grow up in South Africa. So, but we did stay with a family that had this woman called Gloria who had her own house as part of the property where we ended up staying with.
Sure.
And back then, I didn't see any of that going on, right? She was equally part of the family in terms of like her kids and her spent Christmas with us and the family that we were staying with. And it's only sort of recently that I was like, someone told me this when I was doing a Johannesburg Comedy Festival, and I was just talking of my experience as a kid. And they were like, but you know that her name wasn't actually Gloria, right? And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, they just gave her a white name, just like Nelson Mandela's not actually Nelson. And I was like, oh, shit. And so it was little things like that, you know, visually speaking, she was equally part of my family at the time. But now I go, yeah, her house was actually smaller and it was on their property. And yeah, she did do a lot of work for us. And so it was
just putting it all together, like and she definitely had to go to her, and there was like the work around the house, and she wore an outfit or no outfit. Was there like anything kind of?
No. She just looked like she lived there, but was cleaning and cooking and stuff like that. Right. And so it was really interesting. As a kid, I didn't put two and two together. I just thought, oh, I really love her. She's really always taking care of me and stuff. And so I really like Gloria.
Yeah.
She used to make me peanut butter and jam sandwiches, mate. I loved her.
Love Gloria.
Still love her. You know, it's those are distant memories.
Yeah.
Because as a kid, I'm not going to keep track of like where I was. I just sort of followed my parents around.
Right.
So like those.
Has that kind of made you more, I don't know, like international, I guess? Because I feel like the more that I do this podcast, the more that I talk to people from around the world. Like I'm like, oh no, like I am quite Australian. Like, but when you're there and just around it, you don't really think about it. Right. And then you're just kind of like, oh, I know I am, yeah.
Well, until you get out of your own bubble, it's very hard to even imagine other bubbles.
Exactly. Right? But so as a kid, like you didn't have a bubble. You were just kind of the racing bubble.
It was constant chaos, yeah.
Okay.
And so, but by chaos, I don't mean that I was feeling any of it, because again, as a kid, I didn't know any different. So I grew up just moving around all the time. So when I say that I lived in 7 countries, that is in a way a lie. In that I lived in Belgium way longer than any of the other countries, but the amount of memories that I've actually got in my head that I feel I have access to, because ultimately, you know, it's a hard drive, right? There's way more memories technically of in Belgium than there is of everywhere else. But the amount of like going to South Africa, it was so much new stimuli that my brain was like, keep all of this, all of this, and so the amount of memories I have in South Africa are equal or maybe more than in Belgium, because Belgium was a bit like France and a bit like Germany kind of thing, you know,
and they all kind of blended, where South
kind
Africa stands out being like, this was this crazy experience, there was Gloria, there was completely different landscape,
nature wise, because I didn't go to school during that time, so my parents was like, just go like Mowgli, they were like, just go play in nature. and I love my parents. I'll tell you what, my parents got in so much trouble for always taking me out of school, and the school, you know, would send them letters and stuff, and then they were like, he's gonna learn from other countries, he's gonna learn from like just being out of school.
There's value in seeing and experiencing all this stuff.
Yeah, and there really was. Yeah, you know, Leonardo da Vinci talks about it. He goes, you know, really the best way to learn is through experience. You know, you can read about other people's works in books, but until you actually experience it, you don't really know. You know, you can read what being drunk is like, but until you're drunk, you don't really know.
You don't really know. I remember this. There's like a saying. It's like an idiot doesn't learn from their mistakes. Like a smart person learns from their mistakes, and a genius learns from the mistakes of others. And I don't really agree with it.
I think that if you get to a genius point, then you must have gone through the intelligent point, and therefore you will have made mistakes.
It's just you stop making.
And actually, I understand the quote. Repeat that last thing again.
The genius learns from the mistakes of others.
The mistakes from others.
So it's like about like you read about these things and you learn from these people that aren't you. Like you don't have to go through the experience.
I guess there is an element of truth to that, right? If you can see people making mistakes and you can learn from that as well.
Don't do that.
But also, I think once you get to a certain point where you don't even see mistakes as mistakes, because mistakes are human, right? We do them.
Oh, we need them.
And so, you know, if you do learn from them, then it's almost not a mistake. It's actually a gift, if you like, right? Do you understand what I mean? Is that if you do learn from it, then actually it's not a mistake, it's a lesson.
Sure.
And so then if you can actually twist that, then you never really make any mistakes, because you're constantly improving yourself and bettering yourself from those moments.
Look, I agree with you intellectually,
Right.
but personally, I can't stand it. It seems like I'm just looking at like one of those, energy salt lamps.
Oh,
It's
what,
just like,
me?
this is good for you. Like, this is healthy.
Oh, right.
Just exposure to this. Yeah, I think
Living in LA has certainly opened me up to.
I was going to say, this is not you do not have a British perspective.
No, not at all. and I have to say, I am being challenged by living here every now and then. So like, I like life between the two, because in LA they are quite mad, all of them. And
I agree. Like, scary. Like, you go to like just what would be like a kind of pretty ramshackle kind of dinery thing.
Yeah.
But they'll have activated charcoal lemonade there. And
Yeah,
you'll be
so,
like, what?
So already just life out there is just madness and constant. Again, constant chaos. One of the reasons why I actually quite like it there, because things actually change really quickly. They move on very quickly, and so I quite thrive. I thrive in it. But what I mean by madness is that, firstly, it's quite a desperate city, especially for our business, entertainment business. Everyone's kind of always on, right?
Yeah. I mean, the Uber drivers, man, they get their pitch.
Yeah.
You get in the back of an Uber. I know a guy's whole life story.
Yeah, everyone's got their story to tell, yeah. And so it's definitely challenging out there. But one thing I do like, it doesn't mean that everyone is honest about it, but everyone has a smile on their face. Some of them do put it on, and that's where people say that people in LA are fake. But so many people say that when they've been there for like 5 days. And it's like, well, actually, if you live there for 3 years like me, there's 19 million people in the greater Los Angeles area. If all of them are fake, that is insane, right? It's just that maybe you've met some people while going on that trip that have given you the illusion of this fakeness, especially when so in the UK, that was very much my depression and anxiety years, right? So if someone smiled at me in the streets, my thoughts would be, why the fuck are you smiling? What have you got to smile about? Life is just a series of miserable events, right? But then it's
Lemony Snicket, series of unfortunate events.
Yeah, basically, it's just what are you smiling for?
I mean, I think.
But when you go over there, then you can actually, if you look at people's eyes, you can tell if they're actually smiling, and I actually like it out there.
I mean, so do I. Like, I want to get more into this soon.
You're right.
But I want to bring you back a little bit.
Oh, let's bring it right back.
Little bit. So, the France thing. Do you still feel French? Is that still part of your? Because you went quite young,
So I felt French as soon as Brexit happened.
Right. So it was kind of put on you.
Yeah, because my passport's French.
Sure.
So listen to the way I sound. I grew up with Alan Partridge. I am British. Ultimately, that's how I felt. And even though I'm just this white male European, and it's not really in a way going to affect me, as so many people have said to me, right? No, it was kind of a slap in the face. This is where I did my schooling. This is where I went to university. This is where I started paying my taxes, if you like, as an adult.
Yeah.
I ultimately am British. And then when Brexit happened, it did feel a little bit like a fuck you. And
are you able to get citizenship? Like, is that something that's open to you? I'm not saying that you want to, but
so it's something that I didn't really consider until recently.
Because you never needed to, right? Like,
because I never needed to.
Exactly,
And so my dad is English, so there is a way of doing it, but there is, it costs a bit of money to do it. And right now, I don't necessarily have the money to spend on that, especially when we don't even know what's going to happen with Brexit. Potentially, something could happen, and they'll be like, "Well, your French passport's still valid to work." And I mean, no one knows what Brexit is.
No one
so
knows.
I am not going to spend money in something that nobody knows what it is.
Well, you know what's insane? I got like a bunch of European comedians on, like, as in Continental, cold breakfast.
Yeah.
Got them on.
Yeah.
And to talk about this, I think like 4 months ago.
Right.
And no one knew it was happening. Like, no one knew it was happening, but they knew what was happening more than they do now.
Right.
Even though no one knows what's happening still.
Right.
Like, that's the level. Like, I think other people outside of the UK like fail to grasp that no one knows anything.
No one knows.
Like, even you, affected by it. You talk to British people who are very politically aware, and they're like, no one knows.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why I don't really even read about Brexit, there's just no point, because it's just this it's not even chaos. in a way, it's just a soup of shit, right? And I won't drink it until someone tells me what kind of shit it is.
Yeah.
And actually living in America, I've just been away from the zeitgeist of the UK, so I've not really kept in touch with what's happened. And because I have a green card, that's now where I'm going to live. It's that's my home. Over there. And politically speaking, they've got Trump. It's equally shambolic.
They've got their own issues, yeah.
But because America is, let's say, the size of Europe, life out there, let's say in California, it's not like Trump is constantly in your face. Well, Brexit, it sort of feels like every day you see a bit about Brexit on the Twitter and Brexit on TV and.
It's completely destabilized the current government. So it's always brought up. Even though it's not really about Brexit, it's kind of about Brexit. Because like, how are, the Tories going to stay? Like, if they do stay, who's it going to be? Yeah. Like, what's their position? Oh, man.
So since then, I was like, oh, French passport. That's exactly what I am. I'm French. And English is my third language. This is my third accent. So I am tempted to just change the accent.
Just go American.
Yeah, just mess it up. Mess around with it. Why not?
You don't
I'm an actor, right? So I can mess it up whenever I want.
But is your current accent natural? Like, is this what you'd say is like your default?
Yeah, this is my default.
Is it how you sound in your head? I always think that's like an accent. Like with you're thinking in this voice. Like the outside voice, inside voice.
Yeah, I think finally I've sort of aligned my outside personality with my inner personality.
Sure.
We do put on a sort of front when sometimes we hide the way we think. While now there's a nice balance between how I sound inside and how I sound outside.
That's cool.
So that's nice. Yeah,
that's a nice moment.
But also, it's very natural for minds to have multiple personalities. People are quite scared to explore that, but actually no. It's very natural for you. For example, humans are around to sort of solve puzzles, right? We have to there's a problem where we can fix it, and therefore you need to have at least two voices in your head to have a question, an answer, and a debate, right? So that's why we sometimes have these conversations in our heads, these thoughts, but they are always this two-way conversation.
Right.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
So therefore, you then do develop these different, if you like, personalities to be able to solve problems. You observe something as someone, and then another voice will sort of think of an idea, and then another voice will counter that. And now all of this is you. It's your own thoughts,
different facets of your personality.
But it's just accessing different ways to look at a problem, and those different voices, if you like, or different way of thinking, kind of are different personalities. I mean, I'm not a neuroscientist, so don't take my word for it. But
that's an interesting way to look at it. You're kind of looking at it as multiple personalities within the brain, whereas I'd say it's like multiple facets of my personality. Yeah. But it's the same result. Right, just like the conservative and the liberal voices in your head. Everyone's got that. Everyone's been like, no, everyone should come in. It seems great over here. Like, just get them over here. And it's like, but then where will they live? And you're like, fuck yeah.
Oh, you totally
sorry,
need
conservative head voice.
Yeah. I like Republican and Democrat at its core, because Republicans ultimately what they want, and I say Republicans, conservatives alike as well, right? Is pull yourself up by your own bootstraps.
Yeah, right? Small government, no interference.
Just get on with it, right? And there is an element of truth to that. No one's actually going to really pull you out of your own well. It's you that's got to climb out of it, right? You've got to be the hero of your own journey. But I like what Democrats and the other side have to say, which is, but if you can't, we'll give you a helping hand. Yeah. Right?
If you're still stuck in the well, you've got a ladder.
Then we'll help you, because some people are born in the well and some people just fell in it. Right? so there's that delicate balance where we kind of need both to do it. But for some reason lately, both US, UK, and I'm sure other places around the world, that gap between the two has got so much bigger that everyone's just lost. It's like, let's go back to make it simple. Just go back to simplicity.
Yeah,
You know?
that's an interesting way to put it, because I think like a lot of the time the parties, I mean, I can speak only from like Australia, British, American.
Right.
Like the parties are quite similar in like what they actually will do, but it's like the rhetoric around that, like the speech around that has just gotten like so much further apart. You know, so it's like we're actually got like variations on the same theme here in terms of policy, but the way we're talking about it, we look like two fucking different genres of music. You know, just like it's just not even close.
I don't know. Just because, like, based on some of the things that I've heard,
Right.
it's not actually, they're not even talking the same language. Their desires are different.
Right.
You know, you look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She is speaking for the masses, certainly the less privileged masses, which is the large population, the large majority of them.
Of course.
But then a large majority of that population doesn't really read, for example, without
vote.
sounding like a dick. Yeah, a lot of the people don't really care, and so they go for like the cheaper newspapers, which is weirdly run by the richest of them all.
Yeah.
So obviously, they're all the information they get is then they're
Oh man,
shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, it's people are definitely voting against their interests. Like, you know, you look at
Which is fascinating, but if you don't know different, if you're buying the cheaper newspaper, you're not gonna like if you've got like a family of 5 to run and you're got one job and stuff, you're struggling to even put food on the table. You're not gonna buy the Guardian, right? You're gonna buy the fucking Sun.
Not gonna
it's 10p.
go through the
It's got
editorial.
tits in it or whatever. You know, so it's you've got such a hard life that, you know what? I just want to see some tits on page 3. And you can't even have that anymore. I want a pint now. So like, life is really hard for people that are just at the bottom,
Yeah.
and they haven't got time to read. Like, I am so lucky that I actually have just so much time that I'm able to really reflect on both sides.
See, I think we have too much time to read. I think that's our thing. We're the further, you know? If you talk to me about stuff, can you believe what they're doing? And everyone's like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right,
You've gone way too deep into like the internet discussion on this issue. And you're like, yeah, shit, sorry. You become like the crazy person, you know?
Oh, I mean, I agree. It's, if we don't spend our time valuably? That's a word.
Valuably, yeah.
Then it's very easy for us to get lost down the rabbit hole.
Oh, man, yeah. Every day, on every train, every bus, you can just lose yourself in there. Pop out the other end being like, yeah, maybe the earth is hollow. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I actually have to write a journal every day to keep track of my thoughts and make sure that I always realign towards what I was originally thinking. Because
that's smart.
Not that I'm not able to change and evolve my thinking, but some days, you know, depending on if I've had like a good diet, exercise, or water and stuff like that. Some days maybe I'm just tired and I'll start thinking of kind of weird thoughts that will just drag me, you know, down the sort of depression or anxiety route. And I have to go, hey, come on, mate.
Yeah.
Just write that down. And what's nice is I write down those thoughts. Even those dark thoughts I'll write them down. And then I'll go, why are you thinking that? Oh, well, because of this. And then I go, and what's really nice is I've got to the point where as I'm writing, I'm just writing whatever comes first in my head. And that is actually my subconscious reaching out to me, if you like. And so I remember I was writing in my journal, and what I was writing was like, and I'm exhausted because I've done this and I've done that. And if I actually read between the lines, what I was saying was, I'm exhausted. I haven't taken a day off. Because with our job, certainly for me, I actually don't know your schedule, but
sure,
because we don't have a boss that says, come in Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, right? We actually have to make our own schedule. And certainly in the past, I was a bit of a workaholic. I got lost in my job, so I didn't have to think about my identity that I hated, right? So I would just really work all the time. That I'd be working Monday to Sunday. And I was constantly working,
And if you don't have work, there's nothing more terrifying, right? Like
yeah, but I always made my own work. So I'd always write something. I'd always be doing something.
I just get that thing when I see like a hole at the end of the week in a calendar and you're like, oh no.
Oh yeah, I just fill it. So I used to just constantly fill it. But the thing is, I constantly filled it. So I never took a bit of time off to just go for a walk and have a nice juice. You know,
Nice juice.
You know, thanks for the juice that you made me, by the way.
It's true.
So I now have, again, if life is about balance, I now finally just take some time off, go to the museum or something.
Yeah,
and
go see a movie.
Yeah, just go do something just to chill out and not think about work. And what was nice was that the journal kept me on track, and I see how very easily it is to go down a rabbit hole. Because if you go to bed not having thought about your thoughts that day, then you'll wake up still thinking about it, and then you just snowball. It snowballs right into and then 10 years later you're going, what? How did I get here? Oh, because I had once a thought that actually wasn't right. Well, if you just write down and you can then go, oh, there's actually some truth to that. I'll explore it some more tomorrow. Or you explore it and you're like, oh, maybe I'm just thinking this because I'm tired. So this is not important.
Exactly. This isn't real. You know that thing where you get home and you're tired and you're like, there's an issue.
Right.
Just like you're just magic an issue out. And then you wake up, like you say, if you message someone tired, just send them that message. Just
dangerous.
Honestly, man, I didn't want to say anything, blah, 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 blah. And then you wake up in the morning, you just message them again, being like, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said anything. I just was tired. That's all. I didn't realize. It's like my girlfriend. This is going to sound stereotypical, but it's not. Just like she'll get her period and she'll just be like a little bit heightened.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Because that's the menstrual cycle. But she always forgets that's happening. So after the first day, she's just kind of a bit, angry and just bit just freaking out. And then I'll be like, have you got your aren't you on your period now? Because she tells me because we've got an honest relationship.
No, it's good.
And then I'm just like, didn't you just say you got your period yesterday? And she's like, you're absolutely right. And then
it does help. Me and my ex-wife, we used to do that as well, and it was really helpful because she used to have some bad ones. Yeah. And before I would struggle with them. I wasn't strong enough to just listen, she would say some things to me sometimes and I'd be like, where is this coming from? But once I knew that she was just going through some tough time, I was just if I knew that she was on the period, so we kept it I sort of tried to keep track of it as well myself.
Sure.
Because then if she forgot, then at least I knew, right? And then whatever she was dealing with, I'd be like, I'll make you a cup of tea. Right. Not that I shouldn't, not that when she's not in a period, fucking make your own cup of tea. But what I mean was that I was just slightly more aware of it. So then I was like, okay, she's just going for a tough time.
It's it's a physical thing that some people.
I have no idea what it is. Yeah,
it has some people has a mental effect. Some people, I'm sure, much worse, much more extreme than others.
But we can even get a slither of it, right? So and obviously we can't get to what a period feels like, but if we feel tired, we know that it affects our thinking. So imagine that, but heightened.
Exactly, but you forget about it because in front of your face. Bang me. No, because yesterday I was just trying to work on my show and just really trying to sit and write and think. Yeah. And it just wasn't going well. And then my girlfriend called me twice and I was just a dick both times. Yeah. And she was just like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, look, sorry, it's just the writing. I didn't mean any of that. I apologize. And I at least I've got all day. I'm thinking about the writing because it's part of my job. Yeah. Whereas for her, she has to keep working and do everything nothing's happening. Yeah. So obviously it's easy for her to forget. Oh shit, maybe these two things are related. Right. Whereas for me, it's just such a clearer link, I think. But,
as men are very logical in their thinking.
I mean, we have to be, right? It's the only way to backwardly justify all the weird shit that you do. You ever done that? Just
yes,
just in hindsight justification. This is obviously what happened.
Well, we do that to then excuse ourselves.
Of course,
I find. But again, I'm new to this thinking. It's not I did hypnotherapy in November, December.
In LA
2018. It was actually an online thing.
An online hypnotherapy?
Yeah, so I started in LA and I continued in the UK. I was able to just travel around with it.
Yeah.
And it definitely went to the root of my problems. So I used to snap. I used to get angry. I used to cry. And there's nothing wrong with those emotions.
Sure.
I still feel them now, but now they sort of go through as a way of control. I have control of them. Before I didn't have any control. It would just if I'm annoyed,
Just come out.
Yeah, it was, and I was like a magnifying glass of emotions. I was quite heightened, and when I finally realized that it was all from my past, then I was like, oh, I've got to take responsibility. I've got to do this, and so I decided to do hypnotherapy. Since then, I've had control of all those moments. So it is interesting that, you know, when I was dealing with like negative mental health stuff, that it felt like I had no control over like my impulse to just argue back, snap back, like fuck, leave me alone, I'm working, shit, you know, like, and I just thought, oh, it's just part of the human condition. That's just how we all are. But I think once you can, this is my own story, by the way. It's once I went to the root of my issue, which I could not have done without therapy. I think you need someone to just guide you out a little bit sometimes.
Well, I think that's like a great, like, American thing. Like, I think America more than any other place has kind of helped to normalize therapy.
Yeah, and I think it's helpful. It's and what is therapy but just, you know, it's been going on for years. You know, people's therapists used to be their priests or their yogis or their Sufis or whatever. Like, so
rabbi, good rabbi,
yeah, good rabbi.
Counsel.
That's what it is, you know. And it's, I think, you know, from an outside perspective, when people see religion and it's like, oh, they just forgive you every Sunday, do they? You know, like so then it's. But if you honestly make a mistake and you feel shit about it, you know, it's nice to then talk about it, and then someone goes, mate, you made a mistake, you clearly feel shit about it, just let it go. And, you know, like,
to have someone else saying that,
yeah, and then obviously you know, taking responsibility and then apologizing for it, and if you genuinely mean the apology, right, then their reaction shouldn't even matter. Hopefully they'll accept it, but maybe they're angry, and so you know, you move on. But as long as you genuinely mean the apology, then it means that you're not holding on to it in your brain. And I think that's something that's quite important, certainly in today's society. We are all fighting one another, and it's like, what are you fighting about? What are you angry about? What are you really angry about?
Yeah.
Your parents? I mean, it's probably your parents, right?
Your parents.
Every time I see like a sort of a trophy hunter, I'm like, sorry, who are you killing there? Your mum or your dad? That's how it feels.
Oh, like, man, that is a good way to put it. I like that.
So it's you know, once you just let go and just go, mate, fucking shit happens.
Well, do you think being in LA is like kind of crucial to your realization with this, or is it more like tied into your relationship?
I think the whole journey has been, you know, if it's very difficult for me to really pinpoint where something happened, if you like.
Right.
You know, yes, it started in LA, but before I moved to LA, I was there, and because I was there because of this, and I was there because of that, and so you know, you can keep. It's interesting when you realize that your identity is just a series of events that weren't in your control, right? And once you realize that, then you're like, okay, whoa, that's cool, and so then it's very easy to forgive some of the things that happened in your past.
If you know, admit that there's no control. To a certain extent, right? So, firstly, anything that happens to you as a kid, you weren't in control because your parents were in charge, or your guardians, or the lack of guardians, or Gloria,
all of that. You know, all of these people, and your prefrontal cortex, the control panel to your brain, so the part that deals with complex thinking and stuff, that takes 25 years to develop. So everything that happens to you in that 25 years, good and bad, certainly traumatic moments, are ingrained in that network of neurons. And so your identity of today will be driven by the things that happened in the first 25 years.
Gotcha.
So it then requires some rewiring on your part to then decide to change. At some point, you have to go, okay, that wasn't in my control. That wasn't my fault. But I'm now an adult. Like when I was 32, and I still am, but I speak of it like an old. It's interesting. I've never said it like that, but there is very much an old me before hypnotherapy.
Right.
And the reason I got hypnotherapy was because my wife was like, "You need mothering." I was like, "What do you mean?" And she was like, well, you know, and she sort of excused it. She was like, well, it makes sense. You were abandoned when you were 15 and you became homeless, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh yeah, that's interesting. I've totally sort of forgot about that, if you like, because I was trying to sweep it under the carpet.
Well, yeah, you'd be moving on with your life. You're like, I'm not a homeless 15-year-old. I'm a professional comedian. I'm in movies.
Yeah,
you know?
but that moment was very much ingrained in my identity. And so, for example, if me and my wife were having an argument, you know, I would really struggle with it because I had abandonment issues. And so then the argument was always came from, for me specifically, it became an argument because I was scared of losing her rather than just having a conversation or just listening.
Her leaving, even if it was about anything.
Right.
Just constantly, what, you're going to leave? Fine, just go. And she's like, but I was just...
And I've said that plenty of times. Oh, it's too hard for you? Well, then go. And that was my defense mechanism kind of thing. And it's interesting that when she said that, and I felt terrible because I really did. I still do love her. And it sucked because I was like, man, I really married in the hopes that it could potentially be forever. You know, and no, it was. I fucked up again. And don't get me wrong, like, she also made mistakes, you know, right? It was a two-way street. But I'm not going to spend my life going, she did this. At some point, I was like, you know what? This was a failed relationship. And the relationship before that was, quote-unquote, failed, if you like. And actually, it was because some of the behaviors I was doing in this relationship, I also did in that relationship. Therefore, some of this has to be on me. You know, I have to take some responsibility here. Yeah. And so when I finally did, I noticed a lot of changes, and it was really interesting.
Just in how have you been in a relationship since?
No, I actually don't want to.
Right.
And that's another thing. Before, I didn't realize this, but I was jumping from one relationship to another. And it's only with a bit of hindsight I go, man, was I scared of just being alone?
I mean, I
was desperate for love. I was desperate for it.
If your parents abandoned you, I think that'd be a pretty natural.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. It's not like look at him. Look at the old Eric and the way he was behaving. No, I understand where it came from, but I also now understand that my behaviors and my thoughts were driven by the horrible moments of my life. But actually now, it's only now. Like, for example, I last year, before hypnotherapy, a friend of mine, she asked me about my childhood. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll share. Yeah. And I sort of shared a little bit about it. And told her about being homeless at 15 and stuff. And when I was talking about that at university, where people are getting to know each other and stuff, I was like, I was 20. So I was like, oh, yeah, like, when I moved to university, 14th of September 2006, the reason I remember that is because I opened the door to my dorm and I was like, oh, I've got a bed. Because for about 4 years, I just didn't have a bed. I was constantly just living, out of a bag.
In the UK?
Yeah.
And
just constantly going from one place to another, like just
still attending school, or
still doing school as well.
Wow.
And so I was like, oh, I've got a bed. And, at the time, it didn't really make me sad. I was like, finally, I've worked really hard to get here.
Yeah.
But then talking to some other students and stuff, and they were like, where'd you come from? I was like, I did this, did that. And then I told them about being homeless. All of them would feel so sad that I then was like, whoa, is that bad? And I then sort of took on this victim role that I didn't realize I was doing. And I was like, whoa, everyone's sad. Maybe I should be sad. Maybe it is bad.
Right.
So, but
like they kind of informed the way that you felt about it.
Yeah.
They were like, you should be sad. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. So I'm
sad.
Yeah. So I just took this on, which was really weird. And then this last year, this friend, she was like, oh, wow, that's really brave. And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, well, like that little kid was 15 years old and got you out. And now you make movies in Hollywood. That kid got you there. And that was such a massive realization because I get to enjoy and reap the rewards of what a 15-year-old homeless kid did, right?
Right.
So once I look at it like that with some distance, I'm like, fucking hell. Jesus Christ, 15-year-old Eric. Good for you.
Good job, buddy.
And so now, all of a sudden, just like this, the memory of something that caused me pain actually I was like, whoa.
Now it's a positive memory.
Yeah, oh, mate, you badass.
Right.
And that has really changed my life just looking at bad moments in my life and actually just going, okay, let's spin this. Let's just spin it. Like, same memory, but why? You know, what can I learn from it?
Just different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. But yeah, and just all online. Like online was sufficient.
Online hypnotherapy.
That's the most like 2019 shit ever.
Yeah.
I did my hypnotherapy online.
And what was really interesting is that so this hypnotherapist is called Marissa Peer. So I do recommend her if you want to check her out. And online, the way she does it is just guides you into a deep state of relaxation. And once you're there, she'll say something like, think of a time in your childhood that caused you pain. Everyone's got one.
Sure.
Right? And you might think of one now, but when you're in deep state relaxation, you might think of another. And whichever one comes first is essentially the one that you deal with. Right? And then she guides you into the memory, and just essentially, I mean, I can't explain it exactly, but she finds that she does her job, which is to...
So is it like a Skype thing? Is she there with you, or is it like a pre-recorded?
No, it's pre-recorded.
Right.
And it's really interesting. You know, you stick the headphones on, make sure the door's closed, so you got like peace and quiet on your bed.
Just do it.
You just do it yourself.
I think that's a cool thing, because like I think one of the things I would struggle with any kind of therapy is like going through the door, you know, like being in the place.
You don't even have to
talk.
talk.
You can do it in your own.
That's the beauty, is
home.
that you don't even have to talk when you do this online version, because essentially she talks to you, she guides you to deal and come face to face with whatever demons you're dealing with. And if you have to sort of respond, you're just responding to yourself in your head. So it's a very nice way of doing therapy, because it means that, like you said, you don't have to...
Yeah, removes that stigma, removes that act from it, I guess. It's like yoga. I can never bring myself to go to a yoga class, but I'll more than happily do some yoga with a YouTube guide at home.
But that's okay.
But you know what I mean? Like, I'm not... It's still not like great, but like that kind of setup is useful for certain things and for certain people like me who are...
Well, Bo Burnham's got a great sort of joke in one of his songs where... you know, I'm too I go to the gym because I'm self-conscious about my body, but I'm too self-conscious about my body to go to the gym. Right? Something like that. And there is an element of truth to that. That when I first started going to the gym, I was just so sort of skinny and pale and all of that that I was like, oh, I don't like this place.
Was this in LA? You started going to the gym?
Yep.
Nice. There we go.
But now I actually don't even go to the gym. I do an app, because I'm actually more comfortable exercising at home on my own with an app, because I don't require that connection with other people, because I get it somewhere else. Like, yoga's great in case, you know, you feel alone in the world, so then you can actually do this exercise as a group, and you're all doing the same thing, and you're breathing together, and it's quite sweet.
I'm a big fan of the gym at home thing as well. I don't know if you can see, there's some kettlebells in the corner. So I do my stuff at home.
Well, I saw your body. I was like, this guy clearly works out.
Thank you. Very skinny boys giving each other compliments. That's where we're at right now. But no, I think one thing that a lot of people they go to the gym because like they need a place to go in order to exercise, because they're used to going to the office, which is where they work.
Right.
Whereas like we kind of work anywhere. So like the gym thing, it's kind of like, we'll just work out anywhere. Like we don't need to go to a venue in order to...
I agree, but there is also that sense of community that we lack. So certainly I did, because we can work at home and we work on ourselves. You know, we write material about ourselves or our way of thinking and stuff. That it's a very insular job.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, if anything, it is important for people like us to go to places where there's other people.
Yeah, that's true. You can get a little isolated.
Yeah.
Can get, into the hollow earth, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
That's that thing. Just get deep in that conspiracy theory. Terrifying. I was going to say, with the homo stuff, like we obviously don't need to go into that. But do you think the kind of British stiff upper lip thing kind of informed like the fact that you just kind of were like, no, being homeless is fine. What are you talking about? I'm just surviving. Because I think that's a real part of the culture here. Like, they complain about like the weather. They don't complain about actual shit, you know?
Okay, agreed. For example, I was thinking about this yesterday. That, a lot of British people say sorry all the time.
Yeah.
And they say sorry when like they bump into each other, right? Accidents happen, but they won't say sorry for actual shit that happens.
No,
right?
never for colonialism.
So I find that, yeah, like for example, like I get the, like some people just say, oh, well, it wasn't my fault, I wasn't around.
Yeah.
No, you don't actually have to apologize for it. Just acknowledge that it happened.
I'd be mindful of it.
Yeah.
To like any degree.
Yeah.
Like, they're just kind of like, what are you talking about? Check out our museum, it's free.
Homelessness does exist in every single country, so I
Yeah.
don't. It's not a British thing, and it happened to me when I was 15. So I did have. It wasn't the kind of homeless where I was on the streets, even though like there was a couple of moments where I did sleep outside just because I was embarrassed that other parents were taking care of me. But other kids' parents did take me under their wing a lot, and I would move from one to another based on shame. Just because I'd be like, oh no, I'm going to stay over there this week. And it was like, I would make it sound like I'm excited by it, but it was because I was just embarrassed to just stay too long in one place.
Yeah.
However, also the constant change wasn't an issue for me because of the constant change that I had in my childhood. I was always moving around.
Right, because you said your parents were taking you wherever.
Like right now, I'm actually couch surfing between Europe and LA because... because I don't have a home to go back to right now, but also I'm lucky that my job keeps me traveling around. That actually, at the moment, I'm like, I don't need to go anywhere. It's the first time in my life, or I'd say since before the root of my issues, that I feel good in my head. Mentally,
yeah.
And so now wherever I go, I kind of feel good. So I kind of feel at home everywhere, which is quite a healthy way to live.
That's interesting.
Don't get me wrong, like couch surfing can be challenging.
Yeah.
But what's really nice is I've kept it simple. I kind of just have one bag, and you could say that there are things I'd like. For example, I'd love to have more clothes to sort of dig out from.
Sure.
But I've actually kept it really simple. I've got one pair of jeans, and I've got another pair somewhere else. But like I could always go to the shop if I need some clothes. I've got a couple of pairs of socks, a couple of pairs of pants, and then just wash them. So like, you know what I mean? I've got now a very simple life, and it's made things so much nicer.
Yeah, so
because
you're
I just don't need stuff. I need stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I used to, and I still kind of do. Basically, I wear the same thing every day.
Yeah, we don't need many things.
Which is like, it's like fresh shirt, but like it's the same thing. Like it's the same like color shirt. It's the same jeans.
Yeah.
Like just, and that does simplify things. Like I think people find it funny because like, oh, it must be cool. You guys can wear whatever you want all the time.
Right.
It's kind of like, nah, man. Like it's nice to just be like, oh, cool. I'm doing a gig tonight. Put on my grey t-shirt.
Right.
That's it. I got like 7 of them.
Keeping life simple is really nice. And every now and then, make a bit of an effort or whatever. But ultimately, it's quite nice to just not fill your identity with stuff. That's, I think, the important thing is once you truly feel good. And again, I'm just speaking like this because it's quite new for me.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm giving people advice. I'm just sort of saying it out loud for me that it's the first time in a long time that I actually feel quite good. And because I feel good, I don't need stuff. And it's really nice. It's new.
And is that impacting the professional stuff positively? Like, do you feel like in terms of work, you're like new Eric is kind of feeling good?
I feel good not just because of work. So before, work was my life.
Right.
Now, my life also has my work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't just... before we did this podcast, you were late to meet up, all right? Because you had to go do a thing. And you were like, oh, mate, like I'm late. I'm sorry. And I was like, oh, mate, I was just having a good time in the park looking at trees. I never used to do that before. I never used to just take a moment to just look at a tree.
Wander around.
Yeah, wander around. I mean, I've gone weird. I've gone proper weird, but I like it. I never used to just breathe and just look around, and go, oh, that's a nice picture. Oh, look at that person. They're looking nice.
Yeah. Have you ever read the David Foster Wallace thing, This Is Water?
No.
It's like basically it's a speech. You can watch it, I think. And I try to think about that every now and again.
This is water.
This is water. Yeah, I'm a real in my head guy.
Right.
That's why I don't smoke weed, because like it just puts me further in.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't need to go further in there. I'm way deep in.
Why do you not want to explore the depths?
I'm already there every hour of every day. Just circling around the mind. But
so so your anxiety is quite high, right?
No, I never.
Do you not consider it as anxiety?
Not really. Just I think because I was an only child growing up, and just like a lot of alone time, you just kind of, I just churn things. That's like how my brain works. I think that's why comedy is good for me, because I just kind of constantly churn thoughts, like ideas.
Yeah. But what I mean is, do you feel sometimes exhausted by it? Because that's certainly how my mind. Well, my mind's still a little bit like that. Is the constant thinking.
I mean, every now and again, but I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten better at kind of harnessing it.
Oh, good.
As opposed to just when I was younger, I used to struggle a lot more.
Right.
Used to like just drink and stuff, being like, oh yes, please, let's just chill.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm like, nah, I put it in something.
Oh, that's good.
I'll think too much about an NBA team, even though I don't even watch the NBA, but I'll just be like, no, seriously, I don't know about this trade.
Oh, so you're like, so you're probably learned, right? You've
got
lots of good facts and knowledge in your head.
Oh, I used to be a trivia host.
Did you?
So I've got nothing but useless information.
That's fun though. That's great.
Man, that was how I got into this whole kind of speaking in front of people thing. It never occurred to me to entertain.
Right.
What about you? Like when did the penny drop in with acting? Or
I'd also like to know about your penny dropping.
My penny dropping. Well, for me, it was just I was at law school and I was like, absolutely not. This sounds horrific. Like I tried to like kind of give it a go mentally and also like just professionally, like try to do legally kind of jobs. It just wouldn't stick.
Oh, but you must have like a nice wealth of knowledge in your head to guide you as an artist. Like the fact that you did law school is actually fascinating.
Yeah.
Does it drive your material writing?
I think it means that I've got I'm not very silly. I think that's a direct result of law school. Like if you look at any of my jokes, it's really me thinking a thing.
Right.
And then saying that I think the thing, justifying why I think the thing, and then telling you that I think the thing again.
Right.
Like
you're your own lawyer.
Yeah, I'm arguing my case with every joke. Even if it doesn't seem like that, it's like if you look at it closely, you'll always realize that it's just me justifying this thing that I think.
Right.
Like it's not like, hey, isn't this fun? No. Like that's not me. That's not me at all. I'm like, no, you ever think that? People are like, what? And I'm like, this is why. And they're like,
so
okay.
I guess maybe in a way that the fun element of it is that the audience get to enjoy you as a sort of case study.
Maybe. I don't know. I like to think that there's like, a few of them out there have had the exact same thought, being like, I wish I could think that, but I just can't justify it.
Right.
And I give them the tools.
Oh, that's
I'm
nice.
like, yeah, you didn't have to learn a foreign language. I'll just explain why.
Oh, so you're healing the world.
That's it. Not healing. Absolutely not. I'm just making assholes more comfortable. Now
hey, they need to be comfortable.
That is a hell of a sentence. Making assholes more comfortable. I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, that's quite nice, yeah.
What about you? Because you're an actor as well. You're an actor.
Actor. So yeah, I did start stand-up to get into the world of acting and then just fell in love with stand-up that, I don't think I'll ever give it up. But it's only recently when I stopped feeling like a fraud doing stand-up that I also realized, wait a minute, this is just one step in the ultimate goal, which was cinema. I love cinema. I love storytelling in that format. And I'm only really learning about cinema now, because before my love of movies was just on the story of the characters, and now the sort of psychology of each frame and the character arc and the real detail, the color, the sound,
the behind the camera stuff.
But all behind camera stuff now is something that I really find fascinating. And
is that why you went to LA in the first place?
No, it was because my wife, she's American. She moved to the UK. Really struggled with the immigration process. It's much harder to move here than it was to move to America. In terms of
really, that is the complete opposite to every story I've ever heard. But maybe that's an Australian thing.
It's
for us coming here is quite easy. I say after just applying for a national insurance number after 18 months.
Well, yeah,
This could be a mistake.
Yeah. There was some stuff like, for example, getting a bank account. She had to have a proof of address, and it's like, well, how do you get a proof of address without paying for a bill? So you need a bank account. So it was just this sort of weird catch-22. While just little things like going to America, I go to a bank. They're like, you want to open a bank account? Okay, here you go.
Enjoy.
It's that easy.
Right.
Social security number. I didn't even have to apply for it. They just gave it to me when I became legal.
And how?
While you had to queue up and just do all of this. And
Yeah. How did you get in there? Was it the spousal?
We were
visa?
just married. Yeah,
Married.
we
Yeah.
were married. So
No, because I remember I saw an Edinburgh show of yours.
Oh, Alien of Extraordinary Ability.
Yeah, and that's the O1 visa for the US, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because it was funny because I remember I saw it based on the title. I really liked the title.
Oh, all right.
And
Nice.
and then subsequently I was like, oh, it's the American visa. You explained it in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, you explained it in the show. Yeah, that's
and actually, any listener that wants to hear the album, it's available for free on Spotify.
that show.
That show.
There you go.
A little bit manipulated because it was also quite a visual show.
It was a very visual show.
Which
There
obviously
was-
doesn't translate on album.
There was nudity, I think.
Oh yeah,
There
I
was
got
nudity.
my penis out.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it was hidden. It was Buffalo Bill style.
It was. I remember we had a side-on angle, and I was like, oh boy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is the free fringe, baby. But okay, yeah. So you met her over here, though. Your
no,
wife.
we met in LA.
Okay, and then you were like, come here.
Yeah, and she struggled here. She was doing animal behavior stuff and modeling. So she was, she loved the sunshine. You don't want to, it's hard to be a model like in the rainy streets of London.
Yeah.
So because of her struggle and because of my love of, my comedy and acting and stuff, it wasn't that unplausible to think, I want to go to Hollywood.
No,
In
absolutely
fact, it was probably, it was one of my dreams to be like in big Hollywood movies. So
And you were, right?
me going there wasn't scary.
You were in a big old film.
Yeah,
I looked it
am.
up.
I mean, there's one. I don't know when this podcast comes out, but
Soon, as in probably tomorrow.
okay, cool. So Friday the 21st of June, the movie Anna comes out,
Right.
which is directed by Luc Besson.
Okay,
So that comes out in the UK. It comes out on the 5th of July.
great.
There's also a movie called The Show, which was written by Alan Moore, who did Watchmen and
Yes.
V for Vendetta and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that comes out this summer, but I'm not too sure when.
Awesome.
So I've got a couple of decent movies coming out. I'm actually shooting one on Friday.
Right.
Going up to York to shoot another one.
In York,
So
the main streets of York.
Yeah. So it's nice. Things are slowly heading in the right direction, which is nice.
Yeah.
And what feels good is that the one on Friday, for example, and actually the Anna one, they're not comedy roles. I'm finally, because I used to get
Previously, it was all
it
comedy.
was always kind of comedy based. That was fun. It was easy,
Mm.
to do, and it was always like I played like a drug addict or a rock and roll person because that was the vibe I gave. And honestly, I wasn't maybe versatile, and because I wasn't in control of my emotions, that therefore I can't control my emotions on set. Right? If I have no control of my emotions in real life, how can I control them
Right.
on set? And it's only recently I was like, oh whoa, I really have access to them now.
That's interesting.
And that was really is an interesting realization to be like, oh, actually, all the work I did for my personal life has really helped to become a better actor.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that.
I never realized it until now. Now I have access to it.
Until it happened.
Yeah.
And then and the plan is to kind of live between LA and London on a permanent.
Yeah, because we were speaking about how like people in LA are pretty mad, but here people don't smile, which I struggle with. And I did. I mean, and me saying that, British people might listen and go, "Oh, fuck off, mate. We do smile." I get it, but you might need a pint to smile. Like, and it's also a generalization.
I mean,
right?
and they certainly don't smile in London.
Oh,
like,
it's just
other
a challenge. It's
other towns are nicer, I think.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's a big city thing, I think.
Oh, for sure. I love London. Like,
Yeah.
I love it. Like, I've lived in London for a decade, and it's
Right.
very much a home. It'll always be a home. But it is interesting that after living in a very sunny place where if you say, for example, hey, I'm really proud of this thing that I did, people will go, good for you. Thank you. That's really nice. I'm glad that you shared. While if I say, hey, I'm really proud of this, oh, fuck off, mate. And I'm like, oh, cheers. Bring me down.
That is such a good point. Americans are so psyched for your success.
Yeah.
Even if they fake it, doesn't matter. They'll just you're like, hey, good job.
Yeah.
It's like walking down the street and be like, hey, have a good day. And that person actually would like you to have a good day.
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, you know, some people just say it because they have to say it and stuff like that. You can tell the difference between people that are genuinely happy. And just because you don't smile doesn't mean you're not happy. But the visual representation of how people want to feel in the US, LA, not the US, it's a massive country. But in LA, my mental health actually got better over there because there was a bit of sunshine and because people just smile. And it's a nicer world to live in. But they're mad. They are. They're constantly on. And you know what? Sometimes I miss going to the pub and just going, here's your fucking pint and I'll drink it. Like, you know, like here I feel a little bit grounded. I sort of remember that.
I like that you have noticed that the customer service here is terrible.
Oh my goodness. And
it's hilarious. Like they just couldn't give a fuck. Like,
couldn't give a fuck. And again, I understand it from their point of view. Like, you know, why would you want to like work there if that's not your dream? I get it. You know, but
in the States, they
make
service
an
with
effort.
A smile. There's
Service
tip
with a
culture.
smile. Yeah.
Tipping culture forces them.
Like it has made. Sometimes you do want to be left alone,
of course.
But I really do enjoy it when the waitress comes up to your table and goes, "Hey, how's it going?" And she looks you in the eyes and genuinely wants to know how your day is.
Yeah,
I've started doing that, and I'll tell you what, you do that around in the UK. Like you just go to Costa Coffee, for example. You get coffee. You look them in the eyes. If you can get the badge as well, their name badge, so you can learn their name. And you look in their names and you go, "You're right, Michelle. How are you today?" People just go, "Oh, I exist." People just want to know they exist, right? And it's like, hey, "How's your day?" I've noticed a difference in just offering a smile, but it's a challenge because most of the time it's not met with a smile back. It's met with a, "Why the fuck is that person smiling?"
It's creepy.
It's creepy.
Here it's creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy here to smile.
They're not used to it. They're like, what's wrong with you guys?
Yeah.
But
what do you want?
It's funny because like Sydney's got a very similar climate to LA.
Yeah.
And like, for me, it's like, I don't get too affected by it. I don't think my girlfriend and my housemate, they're both Australian as well.
Right.
They definitely get the seasonal affective kind of like, just brings them down. Like that kind of rain.
It's definitely a little challenge here.
But I think the physical side for me is like, there's just no motivation here to be in shape because you're never showing anyone. Like,
right.
That's why English people have their gross bodies, you know? That's why they've got these gross, like, British physiques, because they're just kind of like, I can keep this under wraps.
Yeah, but if I'm honest, people look at LA like this sort of Grand Theft Auto game where everybody's like that. Again, like I said, it's a massive place, and no, there's plenty of people that don't look after their bodies.
You don't think they look healthier? Even the fat people in LA, I think, look healthier than the fat people in the UK.
Well, I think this, again, the sunshine just helps to just make their mood better.
Just a smile.
But also the people that live there their whole life don't know difference, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of them, sunshine every day means nothing.
I mean, that would be, I would say, me. Like, until I came here, I didn't realize that I was just living in
paradise.
Yes. Just like the best climate in the world. It's like, oh yeah, right. I was living in that.
Yeah.
I had no idea. But yeah, it's funny. It's interesting. I like what you said about Brexit made you French.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well, go fuck yourselves then if I'm not allowed in your country.
Yeah.
I worked really hard to be part of your society to the point where I changed my accent for you. And I'm not welcome. Go fuck yourself.
But like, as like a French person, like, do you feel like a bit of hostility with Britain? Like, is that if you go to France and you talk to French people and you're like, oh, I live in England, like I live in the UK, and like they hear your accent, do they? It
all just depends on the person, right? If they've got a positive attitude, you know, they'll come out of any situation going, oh, that was actually wonderful. You know, that was a challenge, but I liked it. If you come across someone miserable, they'll just go, you know what, I fucking hated this and that and that.
Yeah.
The amount of people that feel compelled to tell me, I went to Paris, fucking hated it because the people are cunts. Right? And I'm like, oh, I didn't realise that you did a survey on 6 million people.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's such a small-minded thing. And actually what I hear is, you hate yourself.
Right.
Because whenever you meet someone, you think everybody's a cunt.
Sure.
Maybe you're a reflection. Do you know what I mean? When I meet people, you know, everyone's got their own journey, so everyone's sort of... Sometimes I meet someone that's having a bad day, a good day. Someone's being miserable. Someone's feeling good, right? I meet people with years and years worth of exposition. I don't know what their story is. So when I meet them, I try my best to just give them as much love as I can or respect. And if they're having a bad time, I go, I don't know what their story is. Right. So I walk away.
It's not on you.
And I don't go, well, that one Australian that I met, you know what? I hate Australia. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, that's such a small-minded thing to think. You meet one person once and you go, well, that entire group of people is a reflection of the entire country. No.
Yeah, of course not. That's ridiculous. I mean,
Europe, the way Europe sees British people is football hooligans. The way Americans see British people is Downton Abbey, right?
Yeah.
And actually, it's like, yeah, it's that, but also everything in between. Not every British person is a football hooligan or a Downton Abbey person. They're also just chill. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's also the middle ground.
There's a few, yeah. You don't even realize they're British. They just kind of sneak in.
Yeah, and so that entire spectrum is everywhere you go, right? In Australia, you got bogans, right?
We have bogans, we do.
You know, in America, you got this sort of like, yeah, gun. Yeah,
they got bigger trucks than our bogans. I feel a bit resentful.
That's a bigger country.
I want our bogans to have bigger trucks. Come on, guys, own us, you know? But no, I mean, it's funny because you were saying that, and I've definitely been negative about the French people in the past, and I felt like a hypocrite in that moment, agreeing with you.
Are they challenging?
I think it's a big city thing. That was because I went south, like to the smaller cities, and everyone was lovely. And I think it's just, big Paris, New York, London, big on-foot cities.
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference in LA. Everyone's in a car. You walk anywhere in LA, everyone thinks you're a fucking lunatic.
Oh,
like, you're
walking
crazy.
is wild. Yeah. Like if I walk somewhere and they're like, oh, where did you park? Oh, I walked here. What?
Yeah.
Like, people just lose their shit.
My girlfriend walked somewhere, like 35-minute walk each way, and this guy was just staggered. He was just like, wait, what? You didn't get an Uber? And like, no, it's an app. What? Of course I walked.
There's even a song called Nobody Walks in LA, something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is such a thing.
But yeah, that was my main takeaway with, like, when I went to the other parts of the thing, like the other parts of France, I was like, it's just a big city thing. If you're in a big city where everyone's on public transport and walking around the streets, they're going to be a bit short with you. Why? Because there's a lot of people. They don't have time.
Yeah.
Everyone's rushing.
And for, if... I'll speak to some people who were like, I asked them for directions and stuff, and I was like, oh, what language did you ask the directions in? English.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, well, if you go to another country, make an effort. Small effort. Because I bet you, if you made a small effort, they'll just be like, oh, actually, we can speak English, right? They ignore you because you just...
Because they definitely can. I have it on good authority that every French person can speak English.
They're pretty good, yeah. I think most mainland Europe makes a strong effort.
Definitely.
When I was in Germany, at one moment, there was this woman, and I did struggle with her because I was like, oh, you've made zero effort here.
Right.
She was in Berlin, and in the line, there was the currywurst, which is a sausage with curry powder, right? It's
and
quite
tomato
traditional.
sauce.
Yeah.
You got it with the bread or with the chips?
Very nice.
There you go.
And so, very basic. You could have gone on the internet just to learn a couple of basic things like please and thank you, right? So
exactly.
Please is bitter, right? Yeah. And currywurst, it actually says the word in it it said the word by the food. So you could point to it and just say currywurst, right?
Yeah.
And also ein.
Yeah.
Right? So you could have said ein currywurst bitter, right? That's it. Hello? Can I get one of them sausages with the powder on it? And I was like, sorry, where do you think you are? Just make an effort.
Yeah.
And it was just, and again, that's not a representation of British people. You'll get French people, you get German people that do it. Every country's a spectrum.
But she just went so
But she went so British. She went like, I used to, the Brits, then they invaded 9 out of 10 countries. So there's 186, I believe, something like that, right?
Right.
9 out of 10. Every country except for 22.
It's been invaded by the Brits.
High score, right?
That is a high score.
So that is whether they realize it or not, sort of ingrained in their culture that their kingdom was one of the biggest.
Well, was. The sun never sets on the British Empire.
Right.
That was the old phrase. As a good Commonwealth boy, I know this stuff.
So because of that, I think it's ingrained in their attitude that they own the world when they just don't anymore.
Yeah. That's an interesting point because I think there is a degree of that. They still think
For
they're
sure.
the center.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know about the ownership, but like the center. They're like, this is where everything happens.
And
It's
there is
like,
there is an element of truth to, like, for example, you look at a map, right, and the UK is kind of in the middle. They are in charge of time, which I quite like. The Greenwich Meridian, like
they set the clock.
Yeah. So they set the clock for like every plane in the world. You know,
That's funny.
So there is there is a lot of wonderful British culture, like that they should be proud of. But at the same time, there's no evolution. They're like, no, we're the best. We're so good. We are going to insulate ourselves.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Europe. And it's like, well, no, it's the world's getting. We're globalizing now. Like,
we should probably stick together.
We should probably stick together. And they're like, no, because we're so good.
Oh man, they're an odd. I want to leave it there. I think that's good. I like that. I like that as an ending. Just being like, because that's their move. They're like, remember how good it used to be?
Yeah.
We're going to leave the EU and it'll be like that again. It's like, no, it won't.
I think it's the move from another country, make America great again.
Ah, that's also, yeah. I mean, I don't even get that. Make America great again. Like,
slaves.
That's what he means. Can you imagine if that's the thing, like the whole campaign, make America great again? And they're like, all right, Donald, what's your policy? And he's like, slavery.
Well, free labor. Like,
free labor.
He'd probably love that. Yeah, totally.
Of course he would love that.
Yeah, of course he would. So, yeah.
If he doesn't kind of have like a slave working somewhere for him, there's no way.
Melania does not look happy in her position.
I think she's paid handsomely.
Yeah, that is true. We're making a nice bit of cash
on the side. Eric, thank you so much for sitting down.
Thanks for inviting me.
Where can people find you?
So the social medias, obviously.
Social medias.
Instagram, I have a bit of fun just making silly pictures on there.
Good.
My show, the Edinburgh Festival, is going to be happening there.
What's it called? What time?
Born of Chaos at 4:15, and then another one at 6:30. The sort of second part of it.
Second part? You're doing 2 shows a day?
Yeah. And the first one works on its own, so you don't need to see the second one. But I would recommend seeing the first one to see the second one.
Sure. Interesting. And you got to spell your name. It's going to be written down, but I always like people to spell
like
it.
A lamp.
Like a lamp?
And then like an aerodrome, AER, and then a T. So lamp, air.
Or Lampaert.
Yeah, like a lamp.
If you want to use the pronunciation guide.
If you type in Eric Lamp on Google, I think it finishes it.
Really?
Yeah.
You're number one? You're the number one Eric Lamp in the world?
Maybe.
That's pretty cool.
I think it does. Yeah, it does definitely. On Instagram, it definitely changes it. Like, I'm the top one. Eric Lamp.
You're Eric Lamp. Is your Instagram just Eric Lamp, or does it have the whole name?
It's got the whole name.
Oh, okay. I was like, Eric Lamp. That's a pretty catchy little name there. You could be like, a lot of them are like German comedian, Greek comedian. You could be Eric Lamp.
Oh yeah, it's
You'd be king of the
it
lamps.
would probably make my name easier to spell for people. I do end my email with lamps.
Lamps.
Yeah, like
that's a good little nickname.
Little nickname people gave me before.
Oh, all right. Well, actually, one last question.
Go on.
If you don't live in LA, don't live in London, where would you live? What is your number one life alternative?
Oh my goodness. Well, life, I hope that I live a very long life.
Sure.
And
good.
so I would like to maybe taste the flavors of many different geographies. Like, I'd love to live in Japan for a bit.
Okay.
That would be a great place to actually, maybe spend a year.
Yeah.
There's also a place called Longyearbyen in Svalbard, which is an island in the Arctic Circle, and I did a gig there, and just this isolation from the entire world was quite amazing to experience. And I would like to spend a year there because there's 6 months of darkness and 6 months of sunshine, and just experiencing that would be quite amazing. They're so far up north. Just imagine the Aurora Borealis. Like, that would just be a magical place where, like, let's say I'm told you've got a year to write this script or this book. I would probably just go to Longyearbyen.
Straight there.
Yeah.
In the dark and the light.
But for now, I think having my base in LA would be quite nice, and coming back regularly to the UK because I love it. And
nice.
And Paris. I'm in Paris a lot.
You're in Paris a lot.
So for now, like, the 3 countries are attractive.
Yeah, you're a triple threat, but then maybe Japan or maybe an isolated island. Okay. Doing the self-castaway. And the way we end the podcast is you say, cheers, mate.
Oh, cheers, mate.
Fucking nailed it. Eric Lampaert, pleasure. All right, that was my chat with Eric. I think you will all agree, super interesting, especially up the top with all his talk about mental health and how he personally has used this online hypnotherapy to feel better than he has in his entire life. I definitely think that is an LA influence. Like, I think he thinks it's part of the overall narrative, but I promise you, just from being in LA for like 9 days recently on holiday, I was still like, man, I should really get some therapy. You know, I think I can improve my existence in this world. I can feel better about stuff with the right direction. That's a very Los Angeles mindset, I think. They're very willing to work on themselves, and they're also very willing to be open about working on themselves, though I don't know if Eric ever needs any encouragement to be open. He's a goddamn open book. He is so honest and so charismatic. Man, I gotta say, like, I respect people who can act, like, so much. I just think it's such a difficult skill, and like, they really don't get a lot, like, the credit they deserve for how hard it is. And goddamn, when he sat down, he was giving me, like, across the table, just these wide-eyed stares, just being so engaging and honest. And I was right in there. I was convinced. I was like, give this man any award he wants. He is crushing it right now. I am so enthralled in this story, and I'm sure you guys will have been as well. As he said, he's got a couple of films coming out. I will list them in the description, so you've got the details there. Other than that, catch his 2 shows, back-to-back shows at the Edinburgh Fringe in 2019. And stay tuned for next week. We've got a big episode coming out next week. Our first video episode, our first double interview. That's right, I'm interviewing 2 people at once. I'm not gonna give anything away, but it's gonna be a cracker. Both very good friends of mine, both excellent comedians, and I'm excited to have them on the podcast. But if you can't wait until then, jump on Amazon Prime and check out my special, Daniel Muggleton, Let's Never Hang Out. Stream for free on Amazon Prime around the world. A lot of you guys have checked it out and left lovely reviews saying that you found it because of the podcast and really enjoyed it, which I appreciate so much. I really do. All right, jerk-offs. My name is Daniel Muggleton. As always, it's been a pleasure chatting to you, and I'll catch you next week with the video episode, the 2-person guest, the double guest. Very exciting. Until then, cheers, guys. Have a good one. Thank you.